right, welcome back. Joining us on the line, the medical director from the Rushford Center, which is a Hartford HealthCare partner, Dr. J. Craig Allen. Dr. Allen, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
Hey, you're welcome. We've got some very ill Wesleyan students as a result of them taking this street drug Molly. So I wanted you to come on and kind of tell our listeners, give us some information about this. Is this something new that's out there? Has it been around for a while? What's the story?
It's been around for a while. This is a club drug. Became popular with raves, these all-night dancing parties that people would have, younger folks would have, college-age kids, maybe some older high school students. And what it is it is a form of stimulant, a form of speed. It's methyl dioxymethamphetamine, MDMA, and the purest form, although that's a misnomer because none of it's pure, and people don't really know what's in what you're getting on the street, and it's very, very common to dilute it and mix in other drugs. But this MDMA it provides both the stimulant effect, a euphoric, a great warm feeling. It can cause some mild hallucinations, and it has an empathomimetic component, which helps to make you feel more connected with other people around you, so it heightens the senses.
Really?
And you get people going into the club. They're driven by this speed. They're connected to the lights and the music, and they dance, and sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, apparently it's not a lot of fun when your heartbeat starts accelerating. And I mean, what are the physiological symptoms? What does this cause your body to do?
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't have it diluted with other drugs and other things are put into this, like sometimes heroin is mixed in with it, or other types of stimulants or hallucinogens. But you experience what's called, it can be equated to a serotonin syndrome, which is an overflow or a flood of serotonin in the brain, and also an increased amount of norepinephrine, which increases your heart rate. So you have an increased blood pressure, increased heart rate. You might lose control of your ability to regulate temperature. That's hyperpyrexia. And if you're dancing out on the dance floor and you're sweating and you're driven and you're go, 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 you become dehydrated. You can have breakdown of your muscles, which can cause rhabdomyolysis, which can affect your kidneys. People who use this and overdose on it can have seizures and get very sick, go into a coma, and people have been known to die from using this drug.
This sounds like a real fun party drug.
Right.
What does it look like? I'm assuming it's pill form. What does it look like?
It can either come in a pill form or it could come in a rock form, like a rock candy. That's what the people call Molly, and it's supposed to be the, quote, pure, end quote, form of this drug. It looked like rock candy. You'd crush it up, and you can snort it or sometimes put it on your gums. And there are some other ways that people may take it as well, but those are the primary ways that it is used. It causes some other unusual effects. For one is a clenching of the jaw. It's called bruxism, like a grinding of the teeth, and that's pretty common with this drug. There was a time in the raves where people used to use pacifiers. They would pass out these pacifiers to use when they used the drug. So it's starting to sound kind of strange and not so fun.
Well, we're not wanting to damage our teeth, apparently.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, not that I would know this, but are there similar in terms of chemical makeup? Is it similar to cocaine, or what is it?
You know, it has similarities to methamphetamine. We've heard of crystal meth before.
Sure.
And it has some of the same properties as cocaine. Both cocaine and MDMA release dopamine. They block the reuptake of dopamine in your brain, and that's the effect you get from the cocaine. The MDMA, though, has these other strong effects on norepinephrine and serotonin in addition. And one of the things with MDMA that is tragic is that it can actually cause death of the axons in the brain having to do with serotonin. So people could have long-term effects on their mood. Some of these effects may never change on their mood, on their memory,
sleep
on their
habits.
And that could be caused by the MDMA. It can have a lethal effect on these serotonin transmitters. So it's not a safe drug. It's a very dangerous drug in its purest form, and it becomes even more dangerous when you don't know what's in it.
And I think the thing that's so frightening for parents is kids 18, 19, 20 really kind of have that I can't be harmed attitude.
Right.
They think they're immortal at that point. And these drugs all, correct me if I'm wrong, these drugs all interact a little bit differently with everybody because everybody's makeup is a little bit differently. So you don't know if you're the person that when you take Molly, you're going to have the horrible physical impact to it. I think of the great Boston Celtic prospect Len Baez, who apparently the first time he snorted cocaine died.
Yeah, right.
And so I always tell kids, man, you don't know how you're going to react to anything because drugs interact differently with everybody. Is that true with Molly?
That's absolutely right. I mean, you don't know how it's going to affect your body. And if you're taking other medications, there can be interactions there. And, a lot of these folks, they're not just taking Molly, they're doing other drugs, or they're drinking alcohol, they're smoking marijuana. And those interactions are unknown as to what's going to happen. You can't stop kids from doing this kind of experimentation, but what you can do is you can provide information, provide education, and if they're still living at home and you have some control over them, you can do other things to try to monitor what it is they're doing with their time.
Clearly, these students from Wesleyan that have been negatively affected, obviously there's privacy laws and stuff, but from what you understand or what maybe you've read, I mean, are these kids going to recover? Do they seem like they're on a good path to recovery, or no?
I don't have the details of this, but it sounded like one of them was actually in pretty bad shape and was in the intensive care unit. So, people do die from this stuff. People can have irreversible brain damage if you have a seizure, and people can have irreversible kidney damage if you've developed that breakdown of the muscle with the rhabdomyolysis. So I couldn't tell you. I mean, it sounds like one of them is in very, very bad shape.
Wow. So talk to parents for a second. And I'm a parent of a 20-year-old, so tell parents, what's the best thing we can tell our kids to help try potentially to steer them away from participating in this stuff?
Well, I would encourage my kids to learn as much as possible about something that we're going to put into our bodies for recreational purposes or for medicinal purposes.
Yeah.
And, even if you're getting a medication prescribed by your doctor, ask many questions. Don't be afraid to look it up at a reputable website. And, WebMD is a good website. There are a lot of other good ones. Try to learn as much as you can. Think about the consequences of this brief period of pleasure as potentially being long-term and being the kind of gift you don't want that keeps on affecting your life. So, that's the one thing that you can do is just try to educate your kids. And from a parent, and depending upon how much control and supervision you can provide, you let your kids know that it's not acceptable to be using these things. You understand that they may want to try them, but there'll be consequences if they go out and do it, and then stick to that.
I mean, not that I'm promoting this by any means. I'm a pastor, but it's almost sometimes it seems like if there is a safe, recreational drug to take, I mean, it seems like alcohol is the only one you can kind of predict what's going to happen within moderation.
Yeah, and you're talking to an addiction doctor here, so I
say Rushford,
yeah. But I'll tell you this. We know a lot about what alcohol does to the body, and we know a lot about different doses of alcohol.
Sure.
And we know not to drive when we drink alcohol. I mean, people still do. But there is a lot known, so it is a danger that we know about.
Yeah.
But it's still a pretty big danger.
Big danger. And you see this all every day, probably working at Rushford with folks coming in. It's almost like you wish you could take some of these kids for a tour and say, here's where you're going to end up if you're stupid.
Action. I think that there is some effect that can have, but it doesn't nearly get across the full message, and but that's part of it. And I think you've got a good point. I mean, to hear from someone who's been through it can be very helpful, but that doesn't stop the huge drive there is in the normal developing adolescent, young adult brain to try new things and have new experiences and do what the other kids are doing.
Well, we for years at our church, we've done a program called Celebrate Recovery. Yeah. And we regularly will bring guys and girls going through that into our youth group to tell their stories, to try to just jar them loose a little bit and understand it's not all fun and games, kids.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Dr. J. Craig Allen,
thank younger people in recovery there. they can connect, and sometimes that's what you need. And they can say, I was there, I felt that way, I thought those things.
Right. All right, Dr. J. Craig Allen, the medical director at Rushford, thank you so much for being my guest today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you.